Now we're rolling. Damage Plan MMA podcast. I'm Jason, and I'm back with Blake O'Rulian. Zack is he's a little time crunch now. He's got a big boy job. He's got to punch in, punch out.
He'll be back later today, though, right?
He'll be back later today. Yeah, we have an interview later this afternoon with Mike Jones. Really excited about that one. And yeah, life has been kind of crazy the last couple months for both of us. So we've been trying to scramble around how we're going to get this podcast back up rolling again. Thankfully, we have you to help fill in here.
Love being here, man. Absolutely love being here. So
heck yeah. So we got a huge card this Saturday, UFC 280. Yeah. We've been waiting for it. 280. What's that?
We've got two huge cards.
We've got two huge cards. We're going to start off the day with UFC 280 because it starts at, what time does it start? Like 11 our time?
I believe the main card starts at noon.
Main card starts at noon. 10 a.m. So the card starts at 10 a.m. Eastern.
Mm-hmm.
So prelims start at 8 a.m.
Yep.
Mountain Standard Time.
I cannot wait. It is such a good card. And I don't know if you feel this way, but I feel like it has been months since we had like a really good card. I mean, the last pay-per-view was good, but the last pay-per-view was almost 2 months ago.
I know, it's crazy.
So
we've been kind of spoiled.
We have been spoiled. We definitely have been spoiled. But these last couple of weeks with fight weeks off, and then some. I think this last week was pretty solid of a card, but it wasn't anything to write home about. But this one is the one that everyone's been waiting for. So I'm super excited for it.
They've been dangling the carrot in front of us for months.
Oh yeah.
Now it's here. Now it is here.
I don't know about you, but I am already like so deep into like the embeddeds and the UFC connected and all that stuff. I have been watching so much stuff about every interview you can find. I've been watching about these guys. I mean, I just can't wait. Tomorrow's media day. That's like
your jam, right?
Oh yeah. I mean, I absolutely love it. So I can't wait. It's going to be so good.
So the question is, Blake, when can we get a media day for Fierce Fighting Championship? We need to have a media day.
That is something that I think could be a huge plus for Fierce. I really would love for that to be incorporated. I think that Fierce has the platform and it has enough of a backing by local MMA fans and things like that it's something that we could get a KSL, a Channel 2, an ABC to be coming to. So that's definitely something that I'm hoping that we can create sometime in the near future. But yeah, we'll see how things go. But I definitely think that a media day and things like that, and just getting the Fierce word out there a little bit more, I think that's definitely doable. So
I think we're starting to see it. We saw a little bit. We had the most ticket sales we've ever had at the Maverick Center at our last event.
I was gonna say, do you remember when we were calling the fights and I turn around and I go, "Oh my gosh, Jason, look at how many people are here."
Oh, it was crazy. It was crazy. It was a little. I mean, from my view, it was a little hard to see because the way we were situated. Usually we have our backs to one of the sides, and this time we had tables behind us, which it's loud, but being able to look off to the sides and see in front of us, it was crazy, man. It was a great night.
It was an unbelievable night. And seriously, I mean, we got this one on Saturday, and then 2 weeks from now, we've got another one. So we're running and gunning. I just finished yesterday all of my boards. So those are ready to go. 27 pages of notes for this one. So we are.
For the Challenger Series?
Let me tell you, I have never had such a hard time trying to just get these try to get these boards finished up because there's so many debuters and some of them, have private social media accounts, and that's totally fine.
Yeah.
I've been reaching out to coaches. It's taken me almost a week and a half just to get these ones done. So
it's awesome. It's going to be an awesome night. So we get fights, we got pay-per-view all day during the day, and then we get to drive down to Orem and we get to call fights for Fierce Challenger Series.
Oh my gosh. You better believe it. Oh my goodness. I can't wait. I have been looking forward to this weekend for a very long time. So it's gonna be fun.
You called the last Fierce Challenger Series one, right?
I did. Yes. That was the one when Joel and I did it together.
That's right.
You hopped in on a couple of them.
That crowd was electric.
It's such a confined space. It's a high
Yeah.
school gym, but so many people came, especially. And what this card did so well, like we did in the last one, was there's 6 Agima fighters, and I believe there's 3 Wasatch Combat kids. So just between the 2 big gyms down there
Yeah.
in Provo Orem area, we've got half the card. And so many people are coming to support. Their entire teams are there to show out, as well as so many others. And by the end of it, you've got a gym packed full of people. And then we just blow the roof off the place, considering how fun and exciting these fighters are. So it's going to be a blast.
You know what was fun was how they had the fighters behind the bleachers up top, and they had the little walkway that the guys could walk out and watch their teammates fight. It was cool looking up there and seeing like all the Agima guys standing out, you know, guys that are getting ready to fight 2 or 3 fights down the card, and they're out there watching their teammates fight and cheering them on. That was pretty cool to see that too.
I love the Mountain View venue. I think it is such a perfect place to do Challenger Series, a show that's not as big as the Maverick show the Maverick Center shows, because they're not nearly as many pros on the card or anything like that.
Yeah.
But it's the perfect place to just get MMA, get people talking about MMA, I should
Yeah.
say. And I mean, I'm at the point now where I talk to people or I post something about Fierce, and I have multiple people reaching out to me saying, like, I hear these fights are so sick. Like, where can I get tickets and things like that? And so it's becoming a bigger thing, which I'm really excited about. So
That's awesome.
It's really good. And so I'm excited for Challenger Series. I can't wait for the November 5th card. I think we might unveil the entire card on the pay-per-view. That's something that Jordan and I have been talking about, something to do during our intermission. So
that would be pretty freaking cool.
Yeah.
That's a pretty stacked card.
There's so many good fighters, and the matchups to me. I mean, Zack's not here, but hats off to Zack, man. How many times have we looked at fights and we've gone, oh, I don't know how this one's going to go, or, oh, I don't know if this one's like the best matchup, and then it turns out to be the fight of the night. Like how many times has Zack done that just in the last 5 months? Like
they've been great.
He's done a great job, and so
it's going to be a partner. The return of Camp Mafaleo after getting in a fight with a F-350.
Oh my God!
A couple months ago.
Yeah. What a promo that was! That was a beautiful cut.
That was awesome. Yeah, we got a few others in the pipeline too that are going to be. Yeah,
I can't wait for it.
We're bringing it, man.
I absolutely can't wait for it. It's going to be great.
All right, should we break down this card?
Let's break down this card. I can't wait.
UFC 280, baby. Let's get it going. You know what? You're going to have to give me 2 seconds because I need my drink. I cannot do my podcast without my energy drink. Let me go grab my drink. Hang on.
No worries. Let's break down the Challenger Series just a little bit. A couple of the ins and outs, the X's and O's. We've got 11 fights. We've got 9 amateur MMA bouts. We've got 1 amateur championship bout. We've got a kickboxing match to kick off the night. 22 fighters in total. We've got 11 debuters between our kickboxing and MMA matches. We've got 17 local fighters out of Utah between Salt Lake, Cedar City, Sandy, Syracuse, Orem, Kaysville, and Provo. And then we've also got fighters coming out of Vegas, Idaho, as well as Boca Raton, Florida. So it's a stacked card this weekend at Fierce Challenger Series. But Jason's back with his energy drink, so let's get back in.
I had to get shameless plug for these Ghost Swedish fish flavored energy drinks.
I've seen those. Are they good?
They're dangerous.
Really?
Dangerous. They are dangerously good. Yes. So
I'm not an energy drink guy.
Yeah.
I don't really feel affected by caffeine unless I'm like doing like pre-workout or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
But so I've never really tried them, but it does. I mean, I know you're a big energy drink guy, and those look really good. Every time I see them, I'm like, what are those?
See, mine's not necessarily for the, I mean, I say it's not for the caffeine, but come on, we know it's for the caffeine. But I usually drink the White Monsters, and I've loved those. I drink them all through my competition preps, getting ready for shows. And I always would try the new ones. I'm like, I'm just going to always go back to the White Monster.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody turned me on to these. Pretty good. Pretty good.
I love it. Let's get into these fights, Jason.
All right, UFC 280, baby. We're starting off the night in the prelims. We are starting in the women's bantamweight division. We're bringing you Lena Landsberg against Rosa. The elbow queen is 10-6. She stands 5'7" with a 65.5-inch reach. Rosa 15-4. She stands 5'5" with a 67.5-inch reach. Blake, how do you see this one playing out? Looks like Rosa's a pretty heavy favorite at a 2.5 to 1. favorite. Comeback is plus 200 for Landsberg.
Yeah, I was gonna say I do believe Carol Rosa is definitely deserving of that heavy money line. I think she's the better fighter. I don't know much about Lena Landsberg, but I do know.
The elbow queen.
I definitely think that Carol Rosa is going to be winning this fight. That's just me. But yeah, what about you? How do you see this one playing out?
I'm gonna echo what you said on that. I like Carol Rosa. I think she's fought the better competition. She's beat the better competition. She's the younger fighter. Father Time catches up to everybody, and Landsberg is at the ripe, young age of 40 years old.
Yes. Oh,
nothing
yeah.
Wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that. But I see Rosa winning this fight. Let's go up next. Ooh, this should be. I love this kid in the flyweight division. We got Makhachev against Malcolm X Gordon. Makhachev 7-0. He stands 5'7" with a 70-inch reach. Gordon 14-5. He stands 5'70" with a 70-inch reach as well. Makhachev a huge favorite, 7-1 favorite. The comeback is plus 500 for Gordon. How do you see this one playing out, Blake?
Got to go with Makhachev again. I mean, just an absolute brawler, absolute animal from most places. And so I really think Makhachev is going to be one of those names that we remember and one of those names that we're looking at a couple years down the line in terms of belt contention. And so I'm excited for him. I'm excited to see. I remember, so I went to UFC, was it 235? It was Usman versus Covington 1.
Okay.
And it was Kai Kara France and Brandon Moreno on the early prelims. And I believe that this is a similar type of flyweight matchup where in a couple of years, we're going to be looking at this and be like, wow, they were on the early prelims. Like, that's crazy to think about. But yeah, I'm going to go with Muhammad Makhachev on this one.
Yeah, I'm a huge fan of Makhachev. I think he's the next thing at 125. This kid's only 22 years old. I expect him to win in highlight reel fashion in this one.
Yeah, no, I can't wait for that one.
All right, next up in the middleweight division, we got Armeen Petrosian against AJ Dobson. Superman is 6'2", stands 6'3" with a 71-inch reach. Dobson 6'1", stands 6'1" with a 76-inch reach. Petrosian coming in as the moderate favorite at minus 220. The comeback plus 180 for Dobson. Blake, how do we see this one playing out?
You know, I think one of the interesting things that we're going to be seeing here is Dobson's reach. There is a significant reach advantage there for Dobson, but I do think that Armeen is the better fighter. I'm going to go with Armeen on this one. Again, another one where I don't know a whole ton about either of them. There's a lot of new faces, lots of fighters with either one fight, maybe two fights in the UFC, not a ton of experience, but I do think Armeen gets his hand raised in this one. But I'm very excited for this one. I'm excited to see what AJ Dobson can do. And if he can hold his own against Armeen, it goes to show how talented he is. And, you know, we'll see where he stands in the middleweight division after this one. But I'm going to go with Armeen for this one.
I think this is going to be closer than what a lot of people think. Dobson, like you said, has a 5-inch reach advantage. I was going to use I usually fade the Contender Series guys. They've tended to not do so well coming into the UFC, but both Contender Series guys, Dobson had a tough fight after his Contender Series wins against Jacob Malkoun. And Petrosian, he ended up winning against Gregory Rodriguez in a split decision after his Contender Series. So I'm going to go with Petrosian. I think it's a close fight. Don't be surprised if Dobson pulls an upset, though.
Have we disagreed on a single fight?
No, not yet. I'm sure we will.
This is what we do. This is why we need Zack, because you and I just agree on everything.
You know what? I think we did the last time we did this card too. We just kind of agreed on everything. Zack just likes to disagree with me, just to disagree with me. It's not.
That cool. Is very fun to watch, though. Yes, I will.
It's not cool. Not cool. All right. I don't even know who to pick on this one because I usually always pick the Russians. We got in the welterweight division. We got Abu Bakar Nurmagomedov against. I'm not even gonna try to pronounce this guy's name. Omar Gachiyev.
Omar Gachiyev. I'm going with Omar Gachiyev.
You're going with Omar on this one? You're taking the underdog?
I am. I am going to take the underdog on this one. Abu Bakar, I believe he's the cousin of Khabib. Very, very solid fighter himself, but I do believe that Godzi is the better fighter. Not by a whole lot. I think that this is a very tough fight to call. Two very dominant Russian fighters. I'm excited to see what happens in it, but I do think that Godzi does get his hand raised in this one.
Ooh, okay, I'll disagree. I'm not betting against the Nurmagomedov. Just can't do it. Just can't do it.
I definitely get that. I don't blame you one bit. So Abu Bakr was actually supposed to fight Phil Rowe a couple of months ago.
Oh.
And then that fight got canceled due to an injury. I'm not sure on which side. And now Phil Rowe is going to be fighting. Oh, who is he fighting? I can't remember the name right now, but Phil Rowe just got a fight announcement, and he's going to be fighting in December in Orlando, where he trains out of. So.
Okay. I like it. You got to interview Philip Rowe.
I did. We were supposed to go like 15 minutes. We went for 45 minutes.
Oh, wow.
He's the coolest guy. He is one of the coolest guys. I'll tell you that.
All right, let's get back to this in the featherweight division. We got Zubara Tukugov, the Warrior, against Lucas Almeida. The Warrior is 25-1. He stands 5'8" with a 68-inch reach. Almeida 14-1. He stands 5'11" with a 71-inch reach. How do you see this one playing out, Blake?
This one is really tough. You've got Lucas Almeida, who's got a very pretty record. You've got Zubara, who has a 20-5 record, 25-1. But with those 5 losses, the majority of them, at least recently, have been split decision losses. They've been very close fights. And so I think that that his record doesn't necessarily portray exactly what his fights look like and what he's had to deal with in the UFC. He's had some very tough matchups already. I'm going to say he gets his hand raised here versus Lucas Almeida. I think it's a close one, and I'm not too bullish on it, but I think that if I were to flip a coin, I'd land on Zubara for this one.
I am going to echo what you said and go with Zubara as well in this one. All right, next up in the light heavyweight division, we got Volkan Ozdemir against Nikita Krylov. No time Ozdemir, 18-6. He stands 6'2" with a 75-inch reach. Krylov, the minor, 28-9. He stands 6'3" with a 77.5-inch reach. Who's the favorite in this? Krylov is a -170 favorite. Comeback plus 145 for Ozdemir. How do you see this one playing out, Blake?
So we have Nikita Krylov, who is coming off of that huge knockout of Alexander Gustafsson. Does that raise your stock? Absolutely. But you've got to think about where Gustafsson is at right now. I look at Volkan Ozdemir as the better fighter in this one. I think it's a difficult matchup for both fighters, but I do think Ozdemir is the better fighter, more in his. It's gonna be tough. This is one of the most exciting bouts on the prelims. I think outside of the headliner of the prelims, Sean Brady versus Bilal Muhammad, this is probably going to be the closest fight, and I also think it's going to be one of the better fights. I'm going to go with Ozdemir in this one, but I don't think it's by much. I think it's maybe by the skin of their teeth. Volkan Ozdemir probably getting his hand raised here. I could be wrong, though. I mean, it's a fantastic matchup between the two of these. And again, Nikita Krylov as hot as ever right now after getting a huge win over a future Hall of Famer like Alexander, or already a Hall of Famer in Alexander Gustafsson, I should say.
I'm going to echo, and once again, I'm going to go with you and go with the underdog and go with Ozdemir in this one.
I think, I think it's a good matchup.
Thought we were going to disagree, but we're not. All right, let's get to the middleweight division. We're still on the prelims. These prelims are stacked.
Yeah, they are.
We have Mahmoud Uradov against Cow Baralo, the natural. Uradov is 25-7, stands 6'2" with a 75.5-inch reach. Baralo is 12-1. He stands 5'10" with a 75-inch reach. Baralo is a -220 favorite. The comeback plus 180 for Uradov. How do you see this one playing out?
So here's, I think, one of the reasons why he is the favorite going into this one. He's faced a lot of these Russian fighters who one are very, very talented. We've seen that over and over again.
Yeah.
But the big thing about him is that he's faced them time and time again, and he's continued to beat them. He's beaten Armeen Petrosian, who's on this card earlier. We talked about him. He's beaten Godzi Omar. I mean, he's faced some of the toughest guys. that the UFC has to offer, and he's been able to get decision wins over them, and so it just goes to show how talented he is. I'm very excited for this one, but I do think that Kyle gets his hand raised once again in Abu Dhabi this weekend. I think that also this is going to be one of those ones that kind of people go, oh, who is this guy? And you realize, oh my gosh, he's won his last 3 fights against very, very tough competition. He's going to get a big step up in competition in this next one, I believe, if he gets his hand raised on Saturday morning.
Yeah, I agree. I'm a huge fan of Baralo. I think he's the real deal at 185. He's gonna be a problem. All right. And to round off the prelims, this is crazy. This card is the feature bout on the prelims. We got Bala Muhammad against Sean Brady. Muhammad is 21-3. He stands 5'11" with a 72-inch reach. Brady 15-0, stands 5'10" with a 72.5-inch reach. So these guys are pretty much dead even. The odds are pretty much a coin flip, plus 115, minus 140. Brady is the slight favorite in this one. How do you see this one playing out?
You know, I still haven't made a decision, and I've been, doing my homework on this card. I've been looking at this card. I really don't know. And I don't mean to say that in terms of like, I'm going to come up with a pick at some point when I'm talking about this right now, but you've got Sean Brady, who's undefeated. He's faced some very, very tough competition. He actually hasn't fought in 11 months. His last fight was back in November against Michael Chiesa. You've got Bala Muhammad, who has just skyrocketed. And I mean, he has beaten some very, very high level guys. And it's been a while since we've seen a guy just skyrocket the way that Bilal has. I mean, beating the likes of Stephen Thompson. There's a whole bunch of different fighters that Bilal has just kind of easily beaten recently. And it's been very fascinating to watch. I think Sean Brady is going to be fighting for the title relatively soon. I think Sean Brady is I think it's such a close fight. I think Sean Brady is the better fighter. I mean, I just think about this too. Like Sean Brady, I know it was a grappling match, and I know it was particularly his wrestling that got him through, but Sean Brady beat Craig Jones in a grappling match. I mean, it just goes to show.
They couldn't leg lock in that one though, if I remember right?
That is true. I believe so.
So it was kind of like I know there was a special rule in that. I mean, don't get me wrong. I agree with you. Like he did. I mean, he couldn't do anything. Craig Jones couldn't do anything, but it's like you're kind of taking Craig Jones's biggest weapon away with those leg locks, but still.
Oh, that's such a tough fight to call. I'm gonna say Brady, but I'm not bullish on it whatsoever. That is such a good fight. And I think the winner of this gets the cemented in pound for pound number one fighter or next up for the title, I guess I should say.
You think the winner of this is next up?
Not next up. I think they get in the fight that's going to be next up.
But that welterweight division, I mean, for a while there, that wasn't one of the like sexy divisions, but now you start looking at it, you got Leon Edwards at top, you got Kamaru Usman, Colby Covington, Chimaev. I mean, coming up through the ranks, you got Rakhmonov is probably my favorite up and coming fighter right now. I love watching that guy fight.
He's terrifying. And then I think Hamzat is going to be an 85er from now on, but we'll see. I
agree
there.
Yeah.
But I think Sean Brady and Bala Muhammad are right in that mix as well. And so
I do too. Bala Muhammad's one of those guys. He doesn't hit you with these highlight reel knockouts or submission. He just grinds out wins.
Yeah.
Uses his wrestling. He grinds out. He makes the fight ugly, and he wins.
Yeah.
How is Sean Brady going to respond to that? I'm torn in this one as well. I'm slight lean to Sean Brady because, like you, I think he's kind of he's one of the next big things in that welterweight division. And yeah, man, watch out. So I think Sean Brady ends up pulling this out. Tough, 3-round kind of ugly decision, but I think Sean Brady ends up getting it done.
It's going to be a tough one, and I think of every fight on this card, at least of the bigger ones that we know of. Obviously, we don't know the early prelim people nearly as well as we know a Sean Brady and a Bala Muhammad, but I think this is easily the closest fight on the card. I really don't know who it's going to be, and I've watched both of these guys for years now.
Neither does Vegas. It's pretty much a coin flip.
Yeah.
All right, let's start off this main card with, in the flyweight division, we got Katlyn Chookagian against Manon Fiorot. The blonde fighter, 18-4. She stands 5'9" with the 68-inch reach. The Beast, 9-1. She stands 5'7" with the 66-inch reach. Excuse me. How do you see this fight playing out? Fiorot is a -190 favorite. The comeback is +160 for Chookagian.
Both fighters are very, very high level. I think this fight has very big title implications. I think Katlyn Chookagian is a very, very good fighter. I think Katlyn does get her hand raised in this one. I think I am going to go with the underdog here. I think she's faced tougher competition in the past, but I do know that her opponent is very, very game. I think this is going to be one of the top female fights of the entire year. I think that it's going to be absolute fireworks from start to finish, and I think Katlyn is going to get her hand raised in this one.
Man, I thought I was going to just throw a curveball to you on this one, and
I like
Chookagian. I kind of like her too. I like the experience. I like that she's fought the tougher competition. How is she gonna respond when this fight goes to the ground? Because most of her fights have all ended on the feet. Mm-hmm. She's either knocking them out, TKOing, head kick punches. I think Chookagian makes this fight ugly, and I think she takes Fiorot into some deep waters. I'm going to echo what you said, and I'm going to go with the underdog on this one as well.
There's high title implications for this one. Katlyn's been talking about getting a title shot for a very long time. We'll see what happens in this one, but I'm very excited for that to kick off the main card. And then now we've got the big four-headed monster that everyone is talking about. Let's get into these ones. Oh man, my goodness, let's get into them.
I was just talking to somebody at work about this next fight, this lightweight fight between Benny Dariush and Matsuts Gamrot. And he's like, oh, Dariush is going to just dismantle this kid, because you haven't really heard much of Gamrot, right? You don't really think of him as a big name. His last win against Shuriken was a huge win.
Yeah.
I'll run through the stats real quick. Dariush, 21-4-1. He stands 5'10" with a 72-inch reach. Gamrot, 21-1. He stands 5'10" with a 70.5-inch reach. I mean, you got to think the winner of this fight is next up in line. Who do you got in this one? How do you see this one playing out?
This is another tough one, and I think I'm gonna go against the grain a little bit here, and I'm gonna say I think Gamrot's the better fighter. I think he's the fresher fighter. I think Benny, as much as I like Beneil Dariush and how good he has looked on this run that he's been on, I do think that there's something about he hasn't been in a ton of wars by any means, but he's been in a fair share of them. I do think Gamrot gets his hand raised here. I think it's going to be a very, very close fight. And I do think that both of these fighters are, we should bring Zack online. I think
I'm emailing him right now.
I would love to have Zack on here, because then he could tell me how stupid I am for my pick for every reason. And
invite sent. We sent him the invite. We'll get him on to help with the breakdowns of these last few.
But I do like Gamrot in this one. I think it's incredibly close, and I think that, who knows? I mean, Beneil Dariush reportedly has felt kind of disrespected with Volkanovski becoming the backup fighter and things like that. Obviously, Beneil Dariush has kind of been out for a while. I can't remember the last time he fought, but it's been quite some time since he last fought. And Gamrot has been a little bit more active. I know you're big on Gamrot as well. And so we'll see what happens. But I'm gonna go with Gamrot. I think it's close. Luke, if you're gonna bet on this fight, I wouldn't. It's gonna be a very, very close one. But we'll see what happens.
I'm over here taking notes for the parlay. Dariush has not fought in a year and a half. May 15th last year, he fought Tony Ferguson.
Was that his last fight?
He was scheduled to fight Islam back in February. I don't know if that's when he had his surgery. I think didn't he have like ankle surgery or something, if I'm not mistaken?
I can't remember how that fight. Oh, thank goodness we've got the man back.
Guy, what's up?
You guys are screwing it up.
We're screwing it up. Definitely skipping this.
Tell us how we're screwing this up, Zack.
No.
All right, so give us your take. Who do you got, Darush or Gamrot?
I'm taking Benny Dariush. I think Gamrot. Gamrot's never faced anybody as high level as Dariush.
I get that.
Dariush has looked phenomenal against other high level guys. Shout out Ramsey Najim. I believe that's one of his losses. But Dariush has been there for a long time and is the type of guy that I think would have, he would have beaten stylistically the Conor McGregors, the Eddie Alvarez's, Tony Ferguson before he beat Tony Ferguson. I think there's a case to be made that Benny Dariush stylistically could have been one of the hardest matchups for Khabib if their paths would have crossed. Not saying he would have beat him, but stylistically, his wrestling and he has the ability. He has bricks in his hands. He puts people's lives out.
He does.
Like, don't watch his fight to close. Like, he has a chin. He can strike with good strikers, but man, he can wrestle too. And I just don't think. I'm not saying Gamrot's a one-trick pony, but what happens if Gamrot can't get top position on Dariush? And it's forced to be on the feet. I think Dariush wins. I don't know. I'm not saying it's a slam dunk. And Fiji, don't you dare even put this fight in a parlay. That is not responsible.
do not put this fight in a parlay. Yeah, don't put this fight in a parlay. Too close. Yeah.
But I'm picking. All right. I'm picking Benny Dariush. I'm a huge fan of Benny Dariush. I like Gamrot. Right,
I'm going. Yeah, Gamrot. His win against Sarukin, which I thought was a super close fight and could have won either way, was pretty impressive to me.
I thought he lost that fight when I was watching it live.
Yeah, I did too.
I mean, losing that close to Sarukian isn't a bad thing either. Sarukian's probably the only guy that's taken round that you feel like could hang with the guys that are fighting in the main event, right?
Yeah. Yep. All right, let's break down this Peter Yan Sean O'Malley fight. We got Peter Yan 16-3, stands 5'7" with a 67-inch reach. Sugar Sean 15-1, stands 5'11" with a 72-inch reach. Zack, I know you're getting ready to go to an appointment. Let's go to you first.
Dude, I can't believe that so many people think that Sean O'Malley has a good chance in this fight. And I keep hearing people like, don't count out Sean O'Malley. He's long. He's rangy. Not any more than Sandhagen, and Jan handled that just fine. And I don't know. I think this is a bad night in the office for O'Malley. Really bad.
I think people forget that a lot of people thought Jan won that fight against Aljo. And if that's the case, Jan is still the champion right now.
Which he didn't.
I don't think so either, but a lot of people do think so. And it was a close fight. And so Jan just a few months ago was looked at as this scary, terrifying figure in the bantamweight division. And now people are looking at him like, oh, yeah, I think Sean O'Malley is better than him. I think Sean O'Malley is going to whip something out. Why? Because he hangs out with the Nelk boys? Like, there's nothing about what Sean O'Malley does.
Nothing.
We've seen it. We've seen him face these higher level guys. Like, people say, like, Sean O'Malley hasn't faced any higher level guys. Well, he lost to Chito Vera. And yes, he was doing well in that fight. But as soon as something went, the other way for Chito, that fight was finished pretty quickly. We saw what was going on with Pedro Munoz. Not a lot being thrown and not a very exciting fight in general. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was gonna say, let me pose this to you too on the Cheeto fight. I've seen Peter Yan in dog fights.
Right.
I have never seen O'Malley get into a dog fight and come out on the other side. He appears very much to be a front runner. When things are going good, he's really, really good. But if things aren't going so good, it gets a little dicey.
I also worry that Sean has been so anxious to show his ground game, but I don't know how much wrestling he has. I know I think he'd be one of those guys who wants to show his jiu-jitsu off of his back and then realize, oh shoot, I'm fighting someone like Peter Yan. I don't want to be on the ground right now. But the foot trips of Peter Yan and things like that, we could see this fight go to the ground, and Sean's going to be so confident on his back and then realize, oh shoot, I actually shouldn't have been so confident off my back.
He'll lose around quick. To Fiji's point there, and I will say this, Yan is a master of picking up the pace in the third, fourth, fifth round. He's like a tidal wave, right? He'll throw away the first round and a half to get his timing and everything. He won't have that ability in this because it's a 3-round fight. He's going to have to get going a little bit earlier, but we've seen him do just fine against like Uriah Faber, right? If you go rewatch that fight, he kind of starts it off slow. He just doesn't fill it out as long, and then he just goes to work faster. But that second and third round, the pace that he can put on, it's a rough night for anybody.
Let me just throw this to you guys because I agree with everything you guys are saying. Could this be one of those fights where everybody is on Yan and O'Malley comes in there and ends up pulling off clips him with a check hook or something and drops him?
No, because I'm hearing tons of people on O'Malley.
A lot of people are still on O'Malley. That's the thing. A lot of people think that O'Malley. But I will say this: how fun will it be?
I don't understand it.
Can you imagine the rise to stardom that this guy, if he beats the Peter Yan, like where this guy is going, like he's going to skyrocket.
Oh, he gets a title shot.
People were. I believe it was Dana who said that Sean O'Malley is on the cusp of being as big as Conor McGregor. And I think that this fight is kind of, I wouldn't say it's nearly the same because Conor was fighting Chad Mendes and other bigger fighters on the way up. But this is similar to when when Conor McGregor fought Jose Aldo. And so if Sean was able to go in there and knock out Peter Yan in, under 20, 30 seconds, he would absolutely blow up. I absolutely agree with that. And I'm not going to lie, it would be crazy if Sean O'Malley landed one of those crisp right hands that he throws and knocks out Peter Yan. But I don't think it happens. And I definitely, but I think Peter Yan is definitely going to be the winner of this fight. I think it's not even close, to be honest.
And yes, to answer your question, O'Malley is like a 3-1 dog. I think he's like a plus. Yeah, he's plus 255. I might just throw it on there. Sprinkle a little bit on O'Malley for the upset win.
I agree. Bye, Zach.
Why not? Zach, you got to go?
I guess so.
Oh, he got to go. I know he had an appointment. I knew he had an appointment coming on. That's why he wasn't on here. But he's missing the best part.
I know.
Missing the best part.
I love when Zach comes on, though. I love his insight on these things. He's so good at that stuff. It's so funny.
Yeah, he's good at breaking those fights down. Next up in the co-main event, man, I'm super excited about this fight. Aljamain Sterling against TJ Dillashaw. Sterling 21-3, stands 5'7" with a 71-inch reach. Dillashaw 17-4. He stands 5'6" with a 67-inch reach. Blake, who do you got, man?
I think of the big fights that are on this card, I think this is the one that I am least interested in, which is kind of a steamy take. I don't think TJ Dillashaw has it the way that people pretend that he still does. When we talk about TJ Dillashaw, we're talking about 2017. We're talking about 2018. He's had one fight since 2018. And in that fight, a lot of people thought he lost that fight against Corey Sandhagen. I don't, and I know it was a fast fight, and I know that wasn't the typical Corey Sandhagen, but we saw what Aljo did to Corey Sandhagen. I think Aljo is a significantly better fighter. I also think that TJ is not nearly the same TJ that he was 4 or 5 years ago. I don't know in what ways that I just don't see Aljo losing this fight. And I've definitely thought about this fight a lot, and I've thought to myself, what ways do I see TJ Dillashaw actually beating Aljamain Sterling? And I don't think any of the ways that he does that we actually see. Like, I think Aljo is very good at turning it or creating his own fight, making it his game and things like that. It's what he had to do to Peter. And as soon as he did it to Peter, I mean, it was his fight from start to, or not from start to finish, but his back control and all of those things. I'm gonna say Aljo, and I'm gonna say this is not an easy fight for Aljo, but I think it's easier than what he's been dealing with back-to-back fights versus Jan, as well as the neck surgery and things like that.
You couldn't have said it any better. Aljamain Sterling, he won me over with his last fight with Jan. I wasn't a huge fan of his. I just didn't see it in him. But for him to come back and make the adjustments that he did after going through all that adversity, after getting just slammed online, whether you agree that he should have quit or not, or he took the easy way out. Say what you want.
You should never have that option.
No, he literally came back and showed why he was the better fighter in that second fight. He made the adjustments. And to me, any fighter that can fight through that adversity and show those improvements, I'm a huge fan. I echo everything that you said. I just don't see where Dillashaw wins this fight. I think, like Fiji said, Aljo's the better grappler. If this goes to the ground, I don't think TJ can hang. Aljo's big. He's long for the division. Yeah, I'm going Aljo, and like you said, I don't really think it's that close.
And like I've told you in the past, when they're cutting the highlight reels, where are these highlights from? Aljo's are from this year, last year, the year before that. I know TJ hasn't fought, but TJ doesn't have a whole lot of highlights over the last couple of years. I mean, he has been on the bench for a long time. And so I think what this fight's going to look like, I'll tell you what this fight's going to look like. And Zack would kill me if he was on this call right now. It's going to look like Henry Cejudo versus Dominic Cruz 2.5 years ago. That's what it's going to look like. It's going to look like, oh, wow, he is the champ. And I don't think TJ is the same TJ that he was 5 years ago, similar to with Dom when it was like, oh, I think Dom's past his prime.
Yep. I agree. Matter of fact, I agreed so much that my money is already on Aljo. That was one of my picks. One of my bets. I got one other bet on this card that I really liked, so I got to jump on it. All right, we both feel the same on this one. I actually think I know where you're going on this one as well. Main event, fight of the century, in my opinion. Two of the top guys in their division, Charles "Do Bronx" Oliveira against Islam Makhachev. Do Bronx is 33-8. He stands 5'10" with a 74-inch reach. Makhachev 22-1. He stands 5'10" with a 70.5-inch reach. Blake, what you got, man?
So I usually get to the Fierce cards about 2.5, 3, almost sometimes 4 hours early, just to make sure everything's set and going. Yep. I'm not getting to the Fierce cards until this fight's over. I'm not coming until this fight's over.
I love it.
You can call the first fight without me. If you need me there, I'll be there. But there is, I can't remember the last time I was this excited. I also think that the drought of great cards has been a reason to be excited for this card.
Yeah.
I can't tell you how exciting this matchup is. When everyone talked about like Tony versus Khabib for years and years and years, this is about as good as we get when it comes to the new generation version of that. I'm going with Islam. It's a it's such a tough fight to call. It's such a tough fight to decide between the two of them. But we have this idea that Islam has not done everything. He hasn't faced the best guys. Remember when people tried to make it up that Bobby Green had a chance against Islam? Like that was That was the dumbest fight night ever. And like I tuned in, which was so dumb. But anyways, that all being said, we pretend like Dan Hooker wasn't the number 5 lightweight in the world and had title implications and beat Dustin Poirier in a round. Okay, Zack.
I dropped out. My internet went. I'm sorry.
Oh, okay. I thought you were shaking your head at my pick right now.
No.
I've got Islam. We forget that Dan Hooker was the number 5 lightweight in the world when Islam beat him in under a minute. We forget that Dan Hooker also had beaten Dustin Poirier in one round just a couple of months prior to fight, or just about a year before fighting Islam. Islam has absolutely destroyed and dominated every single person that has been in his path leading up to this fight against Charles Oliveira. And don't get me wrong, I love Charles Oliveira, and I'm rooting for Charles Oliveira. But I do think Islam is the better fighter, and I think it's going to be a fascinating fight.
Zach, who do you got? Let's hear
Who do
your
you
take.
got? Who do you got?
I'm not jumping off the Charles do Bronx train. What he's done in his last 4 or 5 fights, beating one of the top pound for pound fighters at the time in Justin Gaethje, handling him, finishing him first round. Dustin Poirier, he finishes him in the 3rd round, who was considered one of the top 10, top 5 at the time pound for pound fighters in the world. He knocks out Michael Chandler after facing some huge adversity at the end of the 1st round in that fight.
That was crazy.
He dominates Tony Ferguson. I just think it's hard to bet against him right now. His confidence, in my opinion, is at an all-time high. He feels like he's the champ. He feels like he's being disrespected. He's having to travel over to Abu Dhabi in Makhachev's, basically in his backyard. And I'm not betting against him until somebody beats him. If Makhachev can pull it off, great. But there were some things I saw. Somebody made a post. Shout out Brandon Lemmings made a post about how Makhachev in his fight with Thiago Moises, I believe it was the 3rd round, he was getting controlled a little bit against the fence. And I know it's a fight and you're going to have your ebbs and flows and whatnot, but there were some holes in there that I think might get exploited by do Bronx. We know from past fights, do Bronx he's not backing up. He's marching forward. The question is can he handle Makhachev when it goes to the ground? Is he going to be able to handle that wrestling and that pressure, or will do Bronx's jiu-jitsu be able to kind of counter some of that? So it's a great fight. I can't bet against do Bronx right now. He's probably on one of the greatest runs of all time, honestly.
He is.
He's literally on one of the greatest runs. I can't think of another fighter outside of maybe John Jones who's been on this big of at beating that high of level talent as he's beaten in the last 9 fights or whatever, however many fight win streak he's on right now, 9 or 10.
All right. I think we talked about this before, Blake. I actually think on paper, this might be the best, biggest fight in UFC history. Like, what both of these, the runs that I don't think we've ever seen 2 people on runs like they are. The only one that would have been is Tony versus Khabib, when Tony had won his gajillion in a row and Khabib was undefeated still. But on paper, this is the biggest fight in UFC history, resume-wise, right? And both of them aren't just fighting for the title; they're fighting for possibly being the beginning of or in the middle of the greatest lightweight run of all time. So there's a couple things that are sticking out to me on this, and I know a handful of people have said Makhachev in some areas. One, Khabib and his team talking trash on Makhachev, little out of character for Khabib.
On Charles, you mean?
No, Khabib saying like that they're gonna in that team how easily they're gonna beat Makhachev.
Oh yeah. They're gonna beat Charles.
Beat Charles. Little out of character. Don't like that. 2, did you see Charles Oliveira walking a lion in Abu Dhabi?
Pretty gangster.
Okay, that's a power play move.
No, sick.
He's not afraid of walking a lion. He's not afraid to get in a cage with Makhachev. Dan Hooker, all these other guys, Bobby Green, those guys that have fought Makhachev, I think that they were going in there to do good. Like if you gave them some truth serum, they just wanted to have a good performance and hoping that they could catch him with something, right? Oliveira's not going in there to just try and catch him in something. He truly believes that he's going to go in there and beat this guy. I'm picking Oliveira. I am. I'm picking him. I bet against him. I bet against him against Chandler. I bet against him against Poirier. I bet against him against Gaethje. And it's burned me every freaking time. And I was positive Poirier was going to beat him. I remember positive Gaethje was going to knock him out.
Yep.
I'm not betting against him again. And if he loses, great. Hats off to Makhachev. But here's the other thing. Makhachev's not Khabib. Everybody keeps wanting to pretend like Makhachev's Khabib. Makhachev's not Khabib. Makhachev has lost rounds in the UFC. He has been knocked out in the UFC. And a lot of the stuff that he does, especially ground control and the way he controls people to set up his submissions, I don't believe he's going to be able to submit Oliveira. And he might get him down, he might control him, and then the buzzer will sound, and then they have to start on the feet again. And I think Oliveira is a lot more dangerous on the feet than Makhachev is.
That's true.
Let me pose this question, Blake. Let me pose this question to you. We've seen Oliveira against the top level guys, right? We haven't seen Makhachev against these top 5 fighters yet. We haven't seen that. So are we getting a little? Obviously, everybody, your DCs, your Khabibs. Hey, Makhachev is the next big thing. He's legit. He's the guy. How do we know it until we haven't seen it yet? Because we know of a lot of guys. There's some guys, I won't say any names. There's some guys that I've heard that are straight legit killers in the gym, sparring, hitting pads. But then when they get in the cage at the big time moment, things don't quite pan out like they did in the gym. I'm not saying that that's Makhachev, but could you see a little bit of that in there where?
I totally get what you're saying, but I don't think so. And the reason why is because Islam's already been around for quite some time. And I also want to say, I am rooting for Charles Oliveira. I want to believe all the things that you guys are saying. I just don't see it. But I completely agree with everything that you guys are saying. Like, I am rooting for Charles Oliveira. I hope he's the one that gets his hand raised.
Either way, it's a fight. And how about Dana White coming out and saying that the winner, Volk, gets to fight the winner?
Oh, I can't wait for that either. I think that's a great fight too.
This is another thing. Gaethje said he's never been hit like that.
Dude, I was in the room when he said it, and it was crazy. He was like, it's like licking a battery getting hit by Charles Oliveira, which I thought was very interesting.
You're talking with a guy that's been in wars. He's been in freaking wars.
Said, I'm going to go lick a battery now.
Dubrox
has been in wars.
But that's another thing. Okay, really quick. And this isn't like a complete translation here, but remember when Tony started kind of losing fights? And I'm not going to say that Charles is going to start losing fights. He's on this incredible streak and he looks unbeatable right now. But do you remember when Tony and Khabib were set up for the last one right at the heat of the pandemic? Yeah. And as soon as Tony started losing fights, after he lost to Gaethje, after he lost to Charles and all these different fighters, people were going, oh man, I guess that Khabib fight wouldn't have been as good as we thought. And I know that Islam isn't Khabib. I know you hate this, Zack. I know Islam isn't Khabib. And I know that Charles is not nearly the same fighter as Tony Ferguson because Tony fell off of a cliff and Charles has not done that yet. I completely get that. But stylistically, I do think that Islam does have some upside in terms of his ability to control. Everybody says that he's more technical than Khabib. Everybody says that he's just as powerful as Khabib in weight distribution and things like that when it comes to their grappling. I think I do think that Islam is just as good, in my opinion. I do think that he's going to be I think he's going to win the belt on Saturday, and I think he's going to have it for a long time.
How dare you?
I know.
How dare you? If you are suggesting, no. Here's the thing. Here's the flaw in your whole line of thinking right there.
Okay.
Oliveira like Tony Ferguson. What changed Tony Ferguson is getting bludgeoned to death for almost 5 rounds by Justin Gaethje before Herb Dean mercifully stopped that fight.
That was sad.
Oliveira said, Gaethje said, huh? I'm just going to take your back and choke you out, dude. He's smart enough when he gets hit hard to go to his back and recover rather than just stand there and get bludgeoned to death by those bricks.
Okay, but do you think that Islam is going to just be okay with Islam's going to follow Charles to the ground?
Is he?
Yes, of course he is. That's how he wins.
Time out.
Here's a question.
If he follows him to the ground, things are going to get real interesting.
It
real
will be. And again, that's why this is the fight of the year. This is one of the best.
Oliveira, dude, if he follows him to the ground, if he follows him to the ground, he's giving Oliveira.
Oh, we lost him again. Blake, let me. Oh, here we go.
I said if he follows him to the ground, he's giving him a chance that he doesn't have to.
Okay, let me ask you guys this. Does this fight go into the third round?
Yes.
Does it go into the fifth round?
No.
Okay.
How do you So you all right, Blake, you picked Islam. How do you see him winning?
I think both of these guys are first round finish machines. Whatever. Again, I think it's going to be Islam, but if it's Charles, like Zack said, like I won't be surprised. I think both of these guys are going to be looking for the finish as soon as the bell rings in round number 1. I don't think it goes to round 3. I'd love it for it to go to round 3. I'd love for it to be an all-out war. The only thing I'm scared of is that some stupid eye poke happens and the fight gets,
How dare you
don't even say that, Blake.
Universe.
Everybody heard this clip. If it
edit it out.
Edit this out. You're getting slammed, Blake. You are getting slammed.
No, I don't think it ends in the first at all. I think the writing could be on the wall which way it's going by the second round, though. Because that's where Oliveira, right? He gets dropped, comes back and wins in the second round against Chandler. Did he get Gaethje in the first, or was that the second?
Second.
First.
Poirier.
Was it?
Poirier second, right?
It was Gaethje in the first, Poirier in the third.
Oh, I thought Gaethje was early second.
No,
Gaethje was
Chandler was early second.
Chandler was early second. Gaethje was like 3 minutes and 22. It felt like a 5-round fight, but it was 3 minutes, like 3.5 minutes in.
So I think that the first round we're gonna know. I think the second round it's gonna start becoming clear cut, and then I think it's over in the third or fourth.
Vegas doesn't think it's Vegas going into the third round. It's plus 100. Fourth round plus 165. Fight starts round 5 is plus 225. Makhachev. All right, later. So Vegas is also saying Makhachev inside the distance minus 105. Do Bronx is plus 180.
Inside the distance?
Inside the distance. So obviously Makhachev's the favorite, right? But they're thinking he's going to finish Oliveira.
I think no matter what, one of these guys finishes the other.
You got two guys that they're not going to back up. That's the crazy thing about this fight is like, Charles is coming forward, and Makhachev, he's gonna meet him then.
Oh, it's so good.
Oh, this is like
huge. So good.
Huge. I mean, and then to set up Volk gets the winner. I mean, I was just telling Zack last night. Even if one of these guys dropped out and Volk jumps in and has to fight one of these guys right now,
I'd be happy.
I'm still thrilled.
I
Sign
can't
me
wait.
up.
No, it's gonna be. Oh, it's gonna be so good. It's gonna be so good. It's tough because I completely understand why people want Charles, like think Charles can win and all of those things, but I don't know. So years ago, I had a podcast with one of my buddies, and it was when Poirier and Khabib were about to fight.
Yeah,
and I had picked Dustin, and my partner had picked Khabib.
Yeah,
and his reasoning was, he was like, we all do this. We pretend like there's some sort of flaw in these guys' games, and they don't have flaws. And we pretend that there's going to be some magical thing that happens that. And he's like, they come in, they dominate the fight, they play their game, and they beat everybody.
Yeah.
And outside of Islam getting knocked out years ago, he's done exactly that. And I know it's been against much like lesser competition, but I am very, very interested to see how this fight plays out. And again, I really hope it's Oliveira. Oh man, how cool would that be?
I think it'd be freaking amazing. I guess I'm just not picking against Dubro with the run that he's on right now.
Yeah.
It's just, it's hard for me to say I'm going to pick Makhachev. Granted, he's up there. He's great. He could be the champ for a long time if he ends up beating Oliveira. I got to see him do it first. I got to see him against that. I mean, you're fighting a guy that's at the top of his game right now.
Hey, does the champion have a name?
Champion has a name, and it's Charles Oliveira, baby.
Can I tell you?
Even Dana White is saying that.
Oh, it's
even
so
Dana White is like,
that is one of the coolest like lines like ever, and to just be saying it over and over again after he had missed weight. Oh, it was so cool.
That's another thing that kind of, it's like you can feel the confidence from Charles Oliveira right now. It's like he's not just, this isn't fake. Like he's a very confident fighter, as is Islam. I'm not saying Islam's not, but
so
yeah, go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry. I've got a buddy who's an MMA reporter, and Charles, I think, was at some event, and it wasn't the one where Charles fought, but he was at an event, and so he came and spoke to the media. And he came in and spoke to the media, and when he left, John Morgan, all these big time MMA reporters, everyone just goes, man, that guy's aura is just different. Like, I don't know what it is about him, but he's just at this peak right now. And it is so cool to watch. And
it really is.
I can't tell you how much I want him to win. Oh my gosh, I want him to win so bad. So I can't wait for it, man. I cannot wait for it. The champ has a name, and his name is Charles Du Bronx Oliveira. And can I tell you also, their translator, the Portuguese translator for the UFC, coolest guy in the entire world. Fabiano. He is the coolest guy in the nicest guy. I DM'd him on Instagram the day after media day, thanking him because he did a really good job interpreting one of my questions for Jose Aldo.
Yeah.
And he comes up to me during the pay-per-view and he starts like just talking shop with me about all these different fights. Like nicest guy in the whole world. Super, super cool. And no, if you ever see him in these videos this week when he's interpreting for Charles Oliveira, just know he is the coolest guy in the entire world. And he's so good at his job. He's so good at his job.
This is going to be a great Saturday.
Oh my gosh.
This is going to be a great Saturday. I got to work half the day, so I'm going to have this up on my computer.
I'm going to bat time with my buddy, and then in my suit. I'm going to be in my suit watching these fights in a bar, and then I'm going to go to the fights with.
Well, I felt bad because I'm like, I told you, hey, just drive down to my house. It's on the way to the fights. And then I'm like, oh, crap, I got to work on Saturday. It's Saturday in the car business. Come on, man.
Oh, man.
What am I thinking? We know where my head's going to be at all day.
Oh, yeah. No. As soon as I finish my last thing for Friday Night Football, because we got playoffs this week, as soon as that's over, I did this last time too. I left the football stadium and I was walking out and I was like, fierce tomorrow. Time to start thinking about MMA because
start thinking.
I can't wait. I can't wait.
All right. Well, we'll let you guys get out of here. Zach and I will be back at 4:15 this afternoon with Mike Jones doing another fighter spotlight interview. We'll maybe we can try to get in a couple more this week for some of these fierce challenger guys that are fighting this weekend. But yeah, we'll be back this afternoon. Thanks everybody for tuning in. Blake, thank you for joining me today. Since Zach's been a busy man, and I will hopefully see you tonight. I've been working on some stuff.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Working on some stuff, Blake.
I believe you. You're strong as they come, Jason. I'll say that first and foremost.
I'm always injured.
It's all right. You'll heal up. You'll heal up, and then you'll get right back to kicking my butt.
We'll see you guys later. Thanks for tuning in. We out.